Welcome to another edition of It's All Relative. I'm Josh.
And I'm Timothy.
And we are bringing you episode 21.
Number 21. Of legal age.
Yes. All right. Happy 4th of July weekend, bro.
Same to you, brother. Happy 4th of July weekend.
Yeah. You got any plans?
None.
Anything going on?
None. We're going to listen to people just shoot off fireworks outside and, laugh at it. Hold the dog close when the dog is starting to whimper over it.
Yeah,
we're going to watch it.
You enjoy seeing fireworks?
Yeah. I mean, when I used to live in Georgia, it used to be so much better because we lived in Stone Mountain, so we would go up on the mountain during 4th of July and watch them shoot fireworks, and they had the whole display and everything.
That's dope.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, what was the best state that you've lived in that has had the best fireworks show?
It would actually have to be Georgia. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've seen fireworks shows in multiple states, and I mean, you probably could guess, but I think the best state that I lived in where like the fireworks show was big. You know what I'm saying?
Big, yeah.
Was in Florida.
Okay, in Florida.
In Orlando.
Orlando?
Yeah.
Was it Disneyland?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
Disneyland be lit.
Yeah, their fireworks shows were no joke.
Yeah.
So,
was it at the Epcot Center or at Magic Kingdom?
Yeah, I believe it was at Magic Kingdom.
All right, because they do both, and Epcot ain't have nothing on Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Magic
they pull
Kingdom
out the big stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've enjoyed fireworks shows in other states too as well.
Okay.
You have like a most memorable time or event, seeing a show, fireworks show?
Well, it's definitely one of them from Georgia. God, it had to have been when I was about 12 or 13 or so. And my dad decided to take us up. And it was actually kind of interesting because it was after a point in time where I did bad on my grades and everything. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And, it was pretty bad. And I was like being a little rough and stuff. And
you was getting in trouble?
Yep. Oh, yeah. We got in trouble. Like, this guy chased me around and everything. But after that, it was, he basically went up and I was like, oh, shit, I must be dead.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He came back down. He was like, you know what? Tomorrow we'll go out and we'll look at some fireworks for the 4th.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it was a little bit later. But a long story short is that he took me out there and it actually was amazing. And, he pulled me over and he's like, son, I only just want the best for you and all. And it was more of a little touching moment, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, while we're watching fireworks, he's telling me about life and that life is going to get harder before it gets easy. And in some cases, it never gets easy. So
that's the truth.
Shout out to my dad. Also, he watches this now, so.
Does he?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So
thank you to him.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Henry, I love you. Mr. Latunde.
Nice. Yeah.
But
I have some good memorable times watching fireworks and whatnot. Actually, one of my most memorable times too did involve my father as well.
Okay.
So it's pretty dope. Special time. I think it was actually the last time that him and I saw a fireworks show together. And then and that was it. But that one definitely stands out to me. You know what I'm saying?
Shout out to your pops.
Absolutely. We love and miss him every day.
Yeah.
So, but let's move on. Let's touch real quick on these crazy NBA playoffs, soon to be NBA finals.
Mm-hmm.
Phoenix going. They won it for the West.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. East right now, we still have Atlanta and Milwaukee.
Did you expect it?
I did not. Total shock. Well, total shock with Atlanta, I should say, too, because even going back, I think, 3 or 4 episodes now, when the playoffs had just started, or even before they started, we had touched on this. And, oh, man, I slept on Atlanta. And so
you did. Everybody did.
I gotta apologize to Trae Young and Atlanta, man. They really doing their thing.
They came with it. Same with the Bucks too, man. I was just reading like the SB Nation. They were like, it's unprecedented. No team like the Suns has ever made it to the NBA Finals.
No, which is cool because Chris Paul, even though a lot of people hate on him, I like how he didn't join a super team.
Thank you.
Everything. He went to a pretty shitty team.
And
they had
the
pieces.
team up, right.
Exactly. And they built it and like That's pretty impressive.
Right.
That's actually, that's really impressive.
That's a sign of a good leader.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I do know for Atlanta, Trae Young's been injured.
Mm-hmm.
And for Milwaukee, Giannis has been injured.
Yep.
I believe they have a game this evening.
That they do.
And Giannis is not playing. I do know that.
You think it'll affect the game that much?
I don't know. But if Milwaukee wins tonight, it's a wrap.
Right.
So can Atlanta beat? I don't think Trae Young is playing either. I'm not too sure. So if Atlanta can win, they'll push a game 7.
Right. They
But,
go all the way down. I know my pops wants that. He's big on the Hawks. So
yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I've been sleeping on them for so long. I can't even
For
go
real.
against them right now.
Right.
But
like since Hakeem Olajuwon, I forgot about the Hawks. Sorry, Dad, but that's how it is.
yeah,
It
but no,
happens.
Atlanta definitely made some noise this year. So either way, they had a really good season.
Right.
So I will say, good for them.
Yeah, good for them. They really did good there. Yeah.
So, but all right, my man. Let's get our guest on.
All right.
All right. She is a member of the urban exploration community with a first-hand haunted encounter, as well as being known as the super fan of Wynonna Earp. Ladies and gentlemen, Shannon Dedrick.
Yo, welcome.
How's it going?
Chilling. We're doing well.
Nice.
How are you?
I'm great, thanks.
Good.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thank you for giving us some of your time and agreeing to come on It's All Relative. This is going to be fun.
And
Can't
interesting.
wait.
Yeah. So now, Shannon, you and Tim have a history. You want to tell everyone how you two met, or you want to tell the world any embarrassing stories about my man?
You want to go first? I go first.
I mean, it's as simple as like our love for finding stuff and selling it on eBay, I guess.
Right. But even to preface that, I basically just showed up at her house at a garage sale, and we just started talking from there.
Stalker from day one.
Stalker from day one. I was
Not-
following her from there.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
No, that's pretty dope. Did you buy anything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
Forgot
did.
what I
He
bought.
did. I forgot what he bought.
Me too.
Maybe
It had to have been some games, I think.
something gaming or Pokemon related or something like that.
Pokemon?
And then we
Yeah,
saw
maybe.
each other like the next week at another sale.
Right.
And then I was like, I never got your number. And then we just hit it off and we're friends ever since then.
Right.
That's awesome.
Right. She was like, "Yo, you following me now?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm following." Meanwhile, I'm trying to look at some games so I could flip them. And she was like, "Yeah, so you're following me?" I'm like, "Yeah, you're still pretty cool. You remember that old crazy guy? That guy Nick? Yeah, shout outs to that guy." But that's a whole nother story.
That's a whole
Crazy.
nother story. He doesn't mean to be the way he is,
No,
but he
no,
just
no.
is, you know.
Right. Just I don't know, just fast and speedy. He's all over the place. But
Speedy Gonzalez. Maybe.
yeah, exactly.
Is that
yeah.
correct anymore? I don't know.
Speedy Gonzalez is correct. But I use that as a jump off point to talk to her. You know what I mean? And yeah, we hit it off from there.
And since then, you guys have stayed linked up, and you guys go to? Is this your partner who you go with?
Well, this
to
is
different.
yeah.
Different. What are they? The flea markets.
Yeah,
and
flea
whatnot,
markets
too?
and
Yep,
garage
we go to
sales?
flea markets
Yes.
and stuff like that.
Yes.
Or we searching for the same things, but like he
Right.
schools me on things I'm not 100% on. And then I school him on things that he had absolutely no idea were even worth a penny.
More like shit on me. Like look what I found. I found this jacket. It's worth $400. What?
Yeah. Or
shit.
I just sold this for like, $800 the other day or whatever.
Right.
And it's stuff that, you're always taking a whim sometimes, but
Right.
It's fun, right?
It's more than
exciting
fun.
it's
hobby.
literally my favorite thing. And then that's like my full-time job. So,
Yeah, right.
Dope.
vintage resale is where it's at.
Dope. All right. So, Shannon, you are heavily involved with what is called urban exploration or Urbex, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. You want to explain what that is?
So I think everyone probably has a different take on what they call it or what it means to them.
Okay.
But at least for me, I would say it's any place that you go to that is no longer being used, whether it's, concrete block foundation or older buildings that, are no longer being used, or it could even be going to places that have a history where maybe there's nothing still remaining there, but, there could be, sightings or qualities of,
So like, is it like different aspects of what has been seen before? Or like, say for example, if it's like a place that's like a museum or something that just got abandoned? Is it
Right. So it could be an old school. It could
Okay.
be, an abandoned insane asylum. It could be an old house. It could be a farm. It could be anything, literally.
Is
I've gone to places that are even literally just like a dirt road with like a set of trees that have a long haunted past. So, there's really anything, if you want to consider it paranormal activity, if you want to
Right.
consider it urban exploration. I mean, I think that once you start getting into the ghostly aspect of it, it's more paranormal related.
Right.
But Urbex or urban exploration is generally just going to abandoned places or to caves or whatever that something once was that is no longer or
Right.
has some sort of past.
Okay.
so when you guys do a lot of the urban exploration, do you or does people in the community, do they do it for the love of finding things, or do they do it just to like destroy things?
So
Like, what's the motive behind it?
There's two different kinds of people.
Okay.
Well, there's three different kinds of people.
All right.
There's the type of person that's the punk kid that
Okay.
goes there and is like, ooh, this is abandoned. Let me throw rocks and break every fluorescent light because that's cool.
Right.
And let me graffiti everything.
Right. Shout outs to
Then-
New York.
Right. And then there's the next kind of person, which is like, okay, if you're, looking around and, you see something really cool and you're like, well, no one's going to use this. I might just, take it.
Right.
You could do that too. Or then there's the third person, which is the most likely like me, which is I go there to preserve the history, to
Okay.
basically research it or try to leave it how I found it, so that other people can also see it. I don't go there to destroy anything. I go there to take pictures. I go there
Just gonna ask that.
to explore, and sometimes I find like super gems. I mean, I think I've only really taken a couple of things throughout the years, and
You kept it, right? You didn't flip it, did you?
absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I
like
had
like
to ask.
certain things,
Yeah.
are just too sentimental.
That's true.
And you
Very
see
true.
things, from the 1950s, and you're just like, wow, how is this still surviving all these years later?
But
Right.
you got an example of something? that
So, one of the places that I went to used to be an old hotel resort up in the Catskills, and I found in one of the old residential halls they had a stack of postcards.
you-
And it was the postcards that they had released when they were trying to do promotion in the 1950s or 1960s, like when they were trying to get all the city people to come up to the Catskills to do all of their weekend vacationing and stuff
Right.
because it wasn't too far away.
Yep.
And it was really cool because it showed pictures of exactly how that resort looked back then, and some of the amenities that they had and stuff like that. So
Right.
it's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
Still have them somewhere.
Right. That's
Yeah,
all right.
That is cool. Now, when you go to these places, is there ever a distinct intention? Is there something that you're going to find? Like, is there something, you know what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying.
Right.
I guess it's one of those things where it's like, have I researched this place? Like, have I thought about going there for a long time and now I'm finally going? Or is it something that I'm just randomly driving one day and I see it on the side of the road and I pull over and take a look?
Right.
Like, you have to, you know what I mean? So, like, there's some places that it's like, you've heard stories about it. And now it's like, okay, well, now they have, 45 security cameras and they have motion sensors and they have,
Yeah.
this person just got arrested and then this person,
Jesus.
so you have to really do your research, especially if it's a place you've heard from someone else. Chances are a lot of people other people have heard of it too.
Right.
Right.
Is the security so tight in some of those places? Like,
Yeah.
Oh, really?
For real. Yeah.
Okay, so is it like as soon as they spot you, they already like calling the cops in to come and get
Already
you?
calling the cops.
Yeah.
Most of the time, there's not even private security. It's mostly like there's a motion sensor camera that's been ticked off, or someone sees you entering and they call the cops, and then you're met with them at the end.
Jesus.
Which is never the.
It's not with force or anything, is it? You just like exploring stuff.
Not necessarily. I mean, I know people who have gotten arrested and people who have gone to jail for trespassing. So you really just kind of have to
Crazy.
be careful, and you have to know your audience. You have to know where you're going. You have to know what the police force is like in that area. Are they friendly?
Jesus.
You definitely got to do your homework then before you go into one of these spots.
I mean, yeah. I mean, also if you're in the middle of nowhere and there's like no one around, then who cares?
Right.
You just got to do it safely. If you're going in there with good intentions and you're not trying to like break everything and
Right.
you're doing it the right way, you're not going with reckless people who are just gonna be screaming the whole time, giving away your whole cover. Because I've definitely gone with people like that before, and I'm like, I am never taking you again.
You can't take them nowhere.
Because the first rule, we have a set of ground rules
Okay.
that we go every single time.
Mm-hmm.
There's really like only 3 rules that you have, right?
All right.
Which is be quiet. If you see a cop and they see you, do not run.
Thank God.
If you see a cop
That's a good
and they
call.
don't see you, run and
Run
hide.
and hide, actually. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And also, don't destroy anything. It's not that hard. It's literally not that hard. And if you follow those rules, like, it'll be fine.
Right. I'm assuming everyone doesn't follow the rules.
I mean, I'm just saying that I've gone with people in the past, but like, yeah, whatever.
Right.
And then you already know at that point, because like, if you've spoken to it about them with it before, and then you actually get there, and then they're just like, oh, no one's here. And it's like, right now they're not. I've gone 100 times. This is your first time going.
Right.
So you really just have to be mindful, be kind, and
Okay.
it'll be a good experience.
Right.
Depends
Sounds
on what you
fun.
want to get out of it, you know?
I just want to see stuff, so it sounds fun to me already. So, and I'm good with running every so often. So,
Yeah.
Now, when did Urbex start?
Oh, geez.
Does this go way, way back?
I want to say that the term urbex or urban exploration was never a term that I used
Okay.
personally growing up. I just know that that's how people identify with it now.
yeah, you were just
How did
going to
you-
abandoned buildings.
so how
I
did
would
you-
just
how
call
did
it
you-
trespassing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Trespassing. I mean, it is what it is, you know? You're trespassing. So,
Shit, right to the bottom line.
Actually.
right. So that's what me and my friends always used to call it, and we would go all the time. And, you know, unfortunately, a lot of the places that are around here have been torn down or being rebuilt, or the security is just so high that you can't get there anymore. So I used to go a lot more frequently, but unfortunately, there's just not much around this area anymore.
Right. Do you find yourself having to go much further, like into Connecticut and
Yeah.
other places?
Yeah.
Have you found anything like in Connecticut and New Jersey or somewhere like that?
No, there's some in Long Island, some in Pennsylvania,
Okay.
definitely in upstate New York.
Right. Okay.
I'm sure there are a lot of members who are involved in this activity.
I don't know that it's
Yeah.
necessarily a group that
group,
anyone
yeah.
belongs to.
Yeah.
I think it's just something that people do, and whether they call it urbex or they call it trespassing or they call it exploring or whatever.
Right. So think of it more like
it's
a
just
skill.
an activity that people do, and I'm
Right.
finding more and more now people are doing it for less destructive purposes and more for, you know, finding a cool spot to do a photo shoot,
Right.
or you know, finding the coolest graffiti spots, or checking out, you know, the history of a building. So I like that there's more that aspect now than there was previously. So.
Okay. So you've had the opportunity to go and physically explore or check out a few places. The Hudson River State Hospital in Poughkeepsie, New York. Dundas Castle, or Craigie Clare in Roscoe, New York. And Letchworth Village in Rockland County, New York.
That's correct.
Okay. Talk to us first about Letchworth Village, like the history of it, if you know or are familiar
So,
with
as much of the history as I remember, because I did research it a while back, I would say, from what I know, it used to be a pretty operational facility for people with mental disabilities, and they had, you know, several facilities. It's spread over quite a bit of acreage,
Okay.
and it's surrounded by a golf course. So there's definitely a lot of buildings, a lot of residential. There's, you know, an area that has, you know, a hospital and morgue and all of that stuff. So
Right. So it was all inclusive.
right. So
For
they
the most
had,
part.
it was pretty much, you know, its own little, I wouldn't say city, but
Right. It may
something,
as well be.
something similar to
Right,
that.
right, right.
And from what I know, at some point in the 80s, a lot of the hospitals started closing down, not necessarily because they needed to close down, but because they were not getting the proper funding, and they said that too many were opened. So they shut a lot of them down, and a lot of the patients got transferred to Letchworth Village and other facilities like Hudson River Psychiatric Center as well.
Okay.
And a lot of those places became overcrowded. Now, specifically to Letchworth Village, I know it got shut down for patient abuse in 1987. And the reason being is because of the influx of patients. They didn't have enough staff or space to take care of these patients, and they actually had mattresses and everything right in the hallways. So, you know, with patients just there, and they were getting neglected and beaten, and
Right.
they were
just mistreated.
eventually shut down.
Jesus.
from what I know of it. If anyone knows anything further, I mean, you can feel free to correct me, but from the gist that I remember researching a while back, that's
Yeah, no, you pretty much nailed it. It was, you like I said, you pretty much, it was all correct. But it originally opened in 1911. At its peak, it consisted of over 130 buildings, which you had said a lot of
buildings. Damn, 130? I was thinking more like 20 or something like that.
Yeah, no.
Jesus Christ.
Says that there were reports of improper care started to surface as well, which was mentioned. So, as staff suffering abuse at the hands of coworkers, which included incidences of rape.
Jesus.
Letchworth Village was permanently closed in 1996.
Okay.
So, when did you visit Letchworth?
which time?
Oh shit!
I've been there.
multiple?
I've been there several times.
Okay. How many times have you been there?
Right.
I've been there several times. More than I can count, probably.
Okay.
I would say probably around 5 or 6 over the years. And the last time I was there was probably at least 10 years ago. It's been a while.
Okay.
So when you would go to this spot, were you going with a certain goal in mind? Not something that you wanted to see, or were you just going?
So my first time ever going there, I knew a little bit of the history, but I didn't really know, if I believed in that. This was like the beginning of my trespassing days. And, we went at night, which is
even better.
Well,
or not.
It is and it isn't, because it's like if you're used to just going to one specific place and then you're finally out of your element, you're going to somewhere else and you're with friends who are also freaked out.
In the dark.
A little scary.
In the dark. But it was fine. And I went several times after that, and it seems like I've only really gone during the day like twice out of like the 5 or 6 times that I've gone. So I'm pretty seasoned in it now. I don't really get scared. I mean, if it was just me and one other person, I might be, but usually it's like at least 3 or 4 of us. So
Okay.
So you always go in groups.
for the most part,
Okay.
I'm usually the one doing the convincing, like, get out of the car, because we did not just drive an hour and a half to not.
You better get out this car. We're about to check this out.
Exactly. And, I've had instances where they didn't want to get out of the car. So I just went by myself and did my thing.
Now, when you did have them come in with you, did they like freak out or scream like they hear a noise?
The
and
thing
they start
that's crazy
shouting?
is the people who didn't want to get out of the car are the ones who told me about the place to begin with.
Oh, okay.
And we had been there previously, but it's like one of those things where it's like you get the feeling,
Right.
like the feeling where you're like, something's a little off or it's not right, or I'm getting a little bit freaked out, and I'm the type of person to push past that. And I'm just like, whatever, I didn't drive all this way to not do it. Cause like, that's just how I am. But that would happen to be the night that I had my encounter. So
Okay.
they obviously were picking up on something that I didn't feel at that point. I'm a little bit more intuitive now. So I think I
So now you're looking
probably
everywhere, checking the lights and everything.
probably would have known, but
Right.
Okay. Well, talk to us about that. The time that you experienced something paranormal or you're haunting.
yeah. So I went down to Letchworth with 2 high school friends, and they had brought another friend with them who had never been there before. And when we got there, they were saying, something doesn't feel right. Like, I don't know if there's cops around. Like, I'm really just not trying to get in trouble tonight. And I'm like, look, we just drove an hour and a half. I know it's nighttime, but you guys insisted that we came here, and now I'm excited that we're here. So you should just get out of the car, maybe park your car somewhere else, and we're going to do this. And they were like, no, we're freaked out. If you guys want to go, like, we're going to stay in the car. Just keep your phone on you. Keep it on silent. And we're like, all right, cool. So they stayed in the car. And we're like, fine. We're just going to do our thing. So I went over to a set of buildings that I had never been to before. They looked more like, I want to say, more like southern plantation style buildings. Like they had the big white pillars in the front.
Right.
Just very old school looking. And they didn't look like residential. They were more like almost like office, or at least that's the gist that I got of it. And we were checking, and they were all pretty tightly closed up. So we were like, they're pretty pristine looking. We're not trying to like break into anything. And we went around inside one of the buildings, and we had seen that there was like a concrete staircase that led down to the basement. But there was a tree that was kind of like knocked over into the path to get down there. and it had like some dead leaves, which will be totally relevant in a second. So, we're trying to be quiet, and we got our flashlights and everything, and we're keeping pretty close distance to one another, and we pull the branches back. We go down to the basement, and it had that type of ceiling that, was like that, not styrofoam material, but that, those white like boards that they stick up in the ceiling, and they're like squishy if they fall down, right. Like insulation or whatever it's called. Yeah. Right. So all of those had fallen down from the ceiling onto the floor, and there was probably like an inch of water on the floor. So whenever we were walking, it was like squish, squish, squish. Like you kind of couldn't be quiet.
Yeah, that tracking noise. Yeah,
it was there. So, we go down the first hallway. I peek into the first room. He peeks into the second room. There's not much in there, just a bunch of like filing cabinets just thrown all over the place and stuff like that. And he had gone ahead to the next room, and I had peeked into the room he was looking in, and I heard something. And I said, "Hey, like, did you hear that?" And he was like, "Yeah, that wasn't you?" And I was like, "No." So we just like stopped what we were doing, and neither of us spoke. And all we heard was like squish, squish, squish.
So an extra person coming through.
So I'm shouting both of my friends' names.
Jesus.
I'm like, Christina, Jonna, like, is that you guys? Like, don't mess with us right now.
But
like,
they still in the car.
So I'm like, yo, is that you guys? And nothing. And then I hear like rustling, and I'm like, what is even happening? Right. So we do like 2 more steps, and then we hear like squish, squish, squish. We're like,
is it speeding up?
Yeah. Because like where we were, I would say we're like 100 feet from the entrance of the door. But like when we went in, it's like one hallway, you turn right, and then it's like another hallway. So we couldn't see around that corner.
Yeah.
But we still heard the squish, squish, squish. And we would have heard the branches being pulled back because all the dead leaves that were on there, like, and it was like cracking. It was like old and dead. Like you would have heard someone moving that.
Right.
And all we heard was the squish, squish, squish on the floor. And we're standing right next to each other, so we know it's not us.
Right.
It's pitch black.
And it didn't sound like something light, like a pet.
This was like
pet, like an animal.
This was like
that.
This was like legit, human. Like something. I don't know if it was human or what it was, but it was something. It wasn't so a small animal or anything like that. So
and it definitely wasn't something that was responding to you in any way.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
So now we're freaked out, of course. So we're still down there. Like we call my friend and we're like, "Where are you?" They're like, "We have a cop behind us. Like they've been on our tail for like 20 minutes. We're taking all these random turns. We don't even know where we are right now."
Jesus. And
I'm like, "So you guys weren't in the basement?" They're like, "We don't even know what building you're in."
They're not even there.
They're not even there.
Right.
So I'm like, "Oh my God. Like, what is happening? Like, is this real life?" Basically.
Obviously.
So we're like, all right, so now we got to get out of here and then hope that these cops don't see us. She's like, we just lost them. So now I'm thinking they're doing laps because they think that people are looking around.
Right.
So we get out of there, and the whole front yard is like, I mean, there's just no trees, nothing. And it's like the road, and then there's more buildings on the other side of the road.
Jesus.
No trees, nothing to hide behind.
Right.
And then we see these headlights, and we're like,
oh shit,
is this the end?
Yeah. Like, I'm not trying to get caught right now.
Right.
So we're like laying down like in the grass, like military style, like, moseying along. And so the car goes past. We don't know if it was the cops or not. We can't make it out. And we just ran, like literally ran for like, I don't even know how long. Like the fastest and longest I've ever ran in my whole life. Not even out of fear. It was out of like, I really don't want to get arrested tonight.
Right.
Yeah.
So we hide behind this rock. We call our friends. We're like, where are you? They're like, we still don't know where we're at. So we're like, great. So we just like get out from behind there, and we want to get as far away, obviously, as possible. So we see like a random school. We run to that. And then we were like, well, honestly, like after all we've been through tonight, what is like the perfect payback to our friends?
What's the perfect payback?
So we go and we hide in the bushes, right? Because they're all freaked out. They've been chased by the cops, whatever.
Right.
So we're like, oh, we're down here. Like, no, like we can see your headlights. Like, just come on down. Like, we're right over here. You'll see us in like 2 seconds. So by the time, but like go real slow though. Just go real slow. So they had no idea what we were planning. Obviously, we jumped out in front of their car, and I swear, I have never seen both of them scream so loud.
So you haunted them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you get for not coming with us for our haunted encounter. And that goes down as like the only time that I feel like I've ever come, like, I wouldn't say face to face, but like that close to something that wasn't not.
Right. Did you feel like
a
there
presence?
was a presence, an aura, or something?
I wouldn't
like
say
that?
aura, but I definitely felt like something was there.
Right. Something foreboding or something like that.
How was the pace of those footsteps? Like, were they slow, or did the pace pick up? Did it sound like it was?
No one was running. Like I said,
Okay.
we were only maybe like 100 feet
Okay.
from the entrance, and I would say it was like, like 1, 2, 3. Like, that's how the steps were.
Like a steady shuffle.
Yeah, it wasn't anything like where someone sped up or,
Right, okay.
or anything like that. It was just, but we knew that it was something. And obviously it wasn't an animal. Like, we would have heard them scurry away. And it would have had to be pretty large for us to hear, the falling down ceiling tiles. That was the word I was looking for before.
Okay.
So yeah.
That is very nerve-wracking to be somewhere that you're unfamiliar with,
Right.
and to be total darkness.
Right.
And when you hear things,
Yeah, you hear something
don't
coming
know
after
what-
you. Yeah.
But sounds are different. You could hear maybe a crash or like something that echoes. But hearing footsteps, that's on a different level.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right. Because like
saying? That's-
you can hear, footsteps on a hard surface, but when you hear it like on a surface that where you know exactly where you're at,
you're at,
you know
right.
exactly how much distance is between you and where you heard those footsteps.
Right. And you can hear it coming closer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely something that.
Yeah, that's nerve-wracking. When you go into these buildings and search and do what you do, you mentioned that you have flashlights.
Yes.
You carry anything else with you?
Always.
Okay.
So I have none of my friends do any of this, but like this is just for my own. I've always done this. I always bring some kind of snack, water, a knife, some source of fire.
Damn, you stay prepared. Shit. May
Because
as well be a Boy Scout.
because you know what it is.
Yeah, for real.
No, because you know what, and now I bring a mask too, because it's like back then we didn't care, but I care about my lungs now.
Right. God bless.
So I'll bring a mask now because some places have asbestos or whatever. So
Right.
those are things that you kind of have to be really aware of.
So you bring one of those industrial masks? I think it's like,
I
it's
wish
not
I-
N95, but
No,
it's,
I wish I had one of those, but I don't.
Okay.
I probably should. But yeah, so I always bring all that stuff with me because, you could easily fall through a floor.
Yeah.
You could easily, trip over something and then get like a rusty nail in you or whatever. Or what if I twisted my ankle and I was by myself? I don't often go by myself to these places just because they are pretty dangerous and there are
Right.
huge holes in the floor
Right.
at some spots. So you have to really be careful. But yeah, like I always try to be prepared because you never know.
Okay.
Like, what if we both get trapped?
Right. Right. What do you do? Do you have like escape plans for stuff like that, or not even escape plans? Like, let's say if something goes wrong and maybe somebody gets injured or something happens, do you have like plans for stuff like that?
Not necessarily. I just make sure my phone's fully charged, that I have a flashlight, like I said, source of water, a mask, and
Okay.
source of fire too.
All right. Do you guys typically have like a set amount of time? Like, are you in there for 30 minutes and then
No.
you're out 15
Nope.
minutes?
Nope.
So whenever you're satisfied, you're
Right.
out. I
So,
got you.
and it's also about the feeling too. So like sometimes I've gone to places that I've been to a million times and the feeling's not right. I'm out.
Okay.
Like if I feel like, extra paranoid that day for whatever reason, or something doesn't feel right, or something's out of place, or I seen this car that I didn't see, the 10 other times that I went before, I'm out. Like I'm not taking any chances. I could always go back.
Right.
It's the places that I drive like a lengthy distance to get to that I'm like, all right, well,
And having
whatever
people hang
happens,
out.
happens, I guess.
For real. It's actually kind of funny. You remind me of, or me personally, of our episode 5 that we did with, I think it was Kyle. And he does like skydiving and he does disc golf and all of this other fun stuff.
Yeah.
And he also has friends that, they're all about it until it's time to go and do the thing. And then they all like just fall off. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they
No,
all say, "Nah,
skydiving's
I'm not gonna do
awesome.
it."
I've done that too.
Oh, you've done that too? Well, shout out
Twice.
to skydiving.
Twice.
He's still shaking his head.
Yeah. I guess it just depends on where you do it. I
Right.
mean, I don't know. I was in Australia and I'm like, it was like one of the things on my list that I'm like, I'm doing this before I leave.
Damn, that's right. You was there.
And I did over the Great Barrier Reef. So you can't
Wow.
really get better than that.
No, you can't. You can't. We also,
I landed on a beach.
You
I mean,
landed
it was
on a
pretty
beach?
sick. Yeah.
Did you? And how long did you stay on the beach?
What do you mean? That's where you're scheduled to land. You have someone.
Okay.
It's
I have no
tandem.
idea.
It's tandem. You have someone on your back.
I got
You can't do solo jumps. That's not a thing.
Okay.
Unless you have a certain amount of hours. But anyway, we're getting off topic here.
Actually,
That's pretty dope.
that's pretty dope.
Yeah,
though.
it's fun. It's fun. I'll show
should
you the
live-
video sometime.
Oh, please. And you should listen to the episode 5. I think you'll like it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So talk to us about Dundas Castle.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I know that was one spot that you had experienced or visited.
So Dundas is an interesting story. My friends and I have always wanted to go to a castle for like the longest time. And I'm not talking like, some newer style castle or anything like that. Like this is like old school style castle, had its own courtyard, turrets, the whole nine. Like it was
Turrets. Jesus.
It was legit.
Okay.
Well, turret is like the tower with the spiral
Right, with the
staircase.
spiral staircase. Yeah.
So we were like super excited. And my friend that I used to work with a while back had told me about it like several times. And I'm like, how do you get there? And they're like, all right, well, I only know it's on this road. I've been there a couple times. And I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever been out that way, but it is a bunch of nothing. And the roads are really long and the service is really spotty. And if you take one wrong turn, your GPS ain't going to help you because literally you don't have service.
Jesus.
Yeah, I don't know where the hell Roscoe, New York is. I don't
Right.
know.
So that's like if
Never
you're
heard of
going up 17, like past Monticello, like another hour past Monticello.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Okay. So literally, nowhere.
It's literally
Up there.
going up into way past everything.
Right.
That's civilization, basically. It's just a tiny little town, but it's really hard to get to unless you've been there and you know where your GPS is taking you.
It's kind of crazy that places like that still exist. Yeah. Very remote.
Yeah,
in
so-
America. Yeah.
It was it was a really interesting time. So went with the same two friends again. We used to go all the time together, and so we get there and we see like a little, I don't know, you'd call it like a camping style cabin on the property. We hadn't seen the actual castle yet, and it said like condemned. There was like a sign that said condemned on it. So we're like, all right, so no one's there. And then we saw like just like a stone style fencing that started leading up the road. So I'm like, okay, so the castle's got to be, close to here.
Right.
I didn't realize it was on a hillside, like really steep hillside, and you
Okay.
could kind of see it through the trees. So we're like, okay, so how do we access it? Like, how do we get to it? How do we, find a way in with all these no trespassing signs?
How do you penetrate inside?
Right.
Yeah, I feel you.
Where do we park?
Right.
It's the type of road that's like barely 1.5 lanes.
Damn.
And there's like no shoulder really.
Right.
So we're like, and then there's like a river like right there. So like, we're like, where do we park? So we parked the best we could. This is all very relevant later
okay.
on.
Okay. For the escape?
Right. So we finally find a way in, checking things out. It's super cool. There's no furniture inside, which I thought was super weird. But the castle itself was very pristine.
Yeah. Interesting.
Like all, handcrafted wood cabinets and, stuff like that. Like it didn't look super old, but it was definitely like a stone castle, like where they had done like, stone and mortar. Like
Right,
it wasn't, anything that had any kind of pre-manufactured stone or anything. It was really cool. And, we're thinking, okay, old place like this definitely has underground tunnels. For sure has underground tunnels,
interesting.
right? Like, of course it does. Why not? We had no idea if it did. So we went down to whatever the basement was. And we're looking around. And I see something over to my left. And I'm like, that looks like a crawl space. I'm going to check that out. So my friend's like,
Just go in.
I am absolutely not going in there. Like there's going to be raccoons or whatever other animals in there. And I'm like, I really don't care. Like I love old buildings like this. Like I want to climb underneath and see what's there. So I'm going through and my friends are talking or doing whatever they're doing. And one of my other friends came with me and they were just like, nope, I heard something, like you guys should come back out. And we're like, you guys are such wimps. Like fine.
Right.
It's like, I'm telling you, I heard something upstairs. Cause like we're in the little tunnel thing down on all fours, like crawling underneath this structure, whether or not it led anywhere. I don't even know to this day. But we come back out and they're like, no, I'm telling you, we 100% heard something.
They
And
were
we're
just
like,
afraid of being alone over there.
Yeah. So we're like, all right, fine. And they're like, well, you go upstairs first. And I'm like, seriously right now?
There you go.
I'm like, I guess I will, you know, like, fine. So I walk up the stairs and I open up the door. And literally there's this dude staring down at me.
What the hell?
Legit, straight-faced, hat on, looked like a serial killer.
Jesus Christ.
Yo, I would have
And
been
the
swinging.
first words out of his mouth were, "Why are you here?"
Yo.
Why are you here?
And we were all just like so taken back, like, because we always say we hear things. We always say, you know,
Right.
like,
Are you sure this isn't the actual haunting?
I'm positive.
Okay.
That's wild.
That is wild.
So I'm just like, you know, I brushed it off because there's so many other times where like we heard something and it was just, you know, one of us like throwing something in the background to freak out the other person or,
Right.
you know, something like that. And it wasn't that situation. Like this was like a dude we didn't know. We're in the middle of nowhere, you know, so.
The hatchet man.
Hell
Right.
no.
So I was just like, we're just checking things out. And he's like, all of you up here now. And we're like, oh no.
Did you actually go up?
Dude, that was the only way out.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We were in the basement. Like that was
That's
the
true.
only
That's
escape
true.
route of the entire place. And then he's just like, why are you here? And we're like, we're just taking a look. And he's like, did you take any pictures? And we were like, yeah. And he's like, do not post them online. He's like, I don't care if you keep them. He's like, but do not post them online. If I find out you post them online, I'm coming after you and we're gonna sue you.
Whew.
And I was just like, okay. And then he was just like, what did you guys look at? And we're like just a couple of the buildings, you know, like this is our first encounter
Right.
ever meeting someone, you know, who was like, why are you on our property? Or, you know, like officially getting caught, if you want to call it that, which I definitely would, because we were all like kind of nervous, you know. And he's like, well, I've already called the cops. They're on their way right now. I know you're from Poughkeepsie. They ran your license plate.
Damn.
And we were like, wow, like
That was
Yeah.
quick.
we've
Yeah.
never had anything like that happen.
It sounds like he's just been doing this all
Right.
the time. Yeah.
And then we were like, well, we thought it was like abandoned. He's like, well, I'm the caretaker. He's like, I live in the house that says condemned. And we're like,
Interesting.
what a cover. What a cover
It's the
indeed.
best cover. Yeah.
So he's like, so what didn't you see? And we're like, well, we didn't go down in the turrets. And then he was just like, they're full with water right now anyway. He was like, I just wanted to make sure you guys weren't actually going to break anything. He's like, I didn't really call the cops. I saw it said Poughkeepsie on your license plate. So that's why I said I did. He said, but he's like, as long as you don't post the pictures online, he's like, I'll take you to whatever you haven't seen yet. And he ended up being mad cool.
Oh, okay. Well,
Oh,
shit.
that is nice.
But
Okay, that turned out.
The problem is that he's just the caretaker. A family from the city owned it, but they never stayed there because it actually is haunted. And he went on to tell us the actual background story of it.
Okay.
He said that many families have lived there over the years, but that there's a little girl that is seen out in the courtyard
Oh shit.
at different times. I'm getting goosebumps right now talking about it.
Okay.
Proof. And he was saying how like she's seen at like dusk or something along those lines, and that
She just kind of appears. Does she do anything?
no, but a lot of people just aren't comfortable staying there with her presence being there,
Right.
even though she seems to be friendly. So that was really all I can honestly remember, was that a family owned it and that they didn't live there because they were too scared to.
Okay.
Yeah, I was curious. I was wondering why, like, when this dude was saying that he was a caretaker, I was curious, right? Because,
Right.
bro, what are you a caretaker of? You out in the woods.
He was about to take
Like,
care of
that's
them.
some
Shit.
random,
Yeah.
like, build. But, like, now that makes sense. We have covered a few times, too, back on, like, a few of, like, these ghosts or paranormal ones. And I think we have mentioned, too, that, like, child ghosts or kid ghosts are some of the most scariest ones
Yeah.
ever, bro.
And they're most playful, apparently. Yeah.
And I think that's what freaks people out, because it's like the kid doesn't really know the barriers, doesn't know the, you know, what's going to freak someone out. Like,
Right.
even though they're being friendly, it's like they're being playful. So that can be taken as like they're being aggressive,
Right.
you know, because when you're unsure of something and you can't physically see it sometimes and you're
Right.
like, what's going on?
Right.
You know, so, I mean, it's just things that you don't understand unless you believe in it,
Unless you
or
believe
that
in
you
it.
see it physically. Like some people have to see that thing right in front of their face to believe it actually exists, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I am not that person. Like, there's a lot of things that I believe in that I have not seen right in front of my face.
Okay, so you have to see it until you believe it.
No, I'm saying I'm the opposite.
The opposite.
I'm
Sorry,
the opposite.
gotcha.
It's like I don't necessarily have to see it to believe it. It's like if I believe in it, or if
I
I believe
got
in
you.
the idea of it.
Right.
You know.
Being open-minded. That's the
Right,
key. I
right,
feel
right.
like people are more open. The people who are more open-minded are the ones that often see or experience things maybe easier.
And that's another thing. Just to briefly touch on that, it's sort of related, but not really. Just people being open-minded, and it's like, it seems sometimes those are the people that end up being, slightly telepathic, or maybe they're psychic or
Right.
whatever, because it's like they're allowing themselves. A lot of people are not comfortable enough to come to terms with abilities that they have.
Right.
People are not comfortable enough to come to terms with, like, the idea that something else might be here.
Right. Right.
They're so scared of it. That's why they don't feel it. It's the people who open themselves up to it. Not always. But you notice that more people are like, oh, well, this person came through, or I saw this, or I felt this. It's because you have a little bit of intuitiveness inside of you.
Right.
You
It's
know what I
extra
mean?
sensory. Yeah.
It's just allowing it to come through.
All right. All right, real quick, Shannon, do you have a favorite place that you visited? If you had to pick one out of all the places that you've gone to.
Oh my gosh. That's a really hard question. Favorite place I've ever been to.
Sounds like it's not the castle.
So many. No, it's definitely not the castle.
Jesus. Something even better than that?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh man. Wow.
Or we can just leave it at each one has had its own.
Each one has its own kind
special-
of special thing. I
Right.
mean, everything is cool for one specific thing or another, or
No, I
like,
got you.
I mean, I could go on and on for days about different places, but there's not one that just sticks out. That's like my most visited was definitely Hudson River Psychiatric Center,
Okay.
but other than that.
All right, last question. What's the next spot on the list that you want to or are going to check out? You got one on the bucket list?
Oof. There's a lot of places that I don't even know if they exist anymore,
Okay.
that I've wanted to check out. I know there was a couple places in Pennsylvania, a couple insane asylums. Usually are my favorite. They're they're the creepiest ones.
The insane asylums. Do
Yeah.
you see like blood and stuff like that, or like crazy stuff out there when you go to one?
I mean, it's sometimes
Straitjackets?
it's literally, you're not going to find any straight jackets. If that was there, like, people would take it for sure. 100%.
Okay.
One time when I went to Letchworth Village, like, someone had either shot a movie there or they were just trying to freak people out. I don't know. But we were in the building where the morgue is at. And to get to that morgue, there's like several staircases to go down through doors. And one of the doors to the right, there's an open room, and someone had cleared out the entire room, spread the whole floor with blood.
Wow.
And sat one single wooden chair in the middle.
Yeah, that's scary.
And I was
bro.
like,
All right,
and it
I'm
happened to be the night that we went, and we were like, why are there's so many other trespassers here tonight? We're like, oh, it's Friday the 13th.
out. Wow.
So we just, like, impromptu, we're like, we're going trespassing tonight. And then we
Right.
realized it was Friday the 13th, and it worked out. But
Hey,
it's super cool.
but that's crazy. That's crazy. People doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do they clean up afterwards at least?
Bro, this is an abandoned building. Absolutely not.
They not
Wow.
touching that shit.
So they're
No.
leaving it for somebody else.
No. No.
All right. We're going to take a quick break. But before we do, we want to remind everyone out there to please find us on Apple, Spotify, Anchor, YouTube, Google, and Twitter.
Twitter, we all over now.
And by using the platform of your choice, please subscribe, follow, share, comment, leave a 5-star rating, and
Please
a
bless.
quick review on the Apple page.
Yes, sir.
And with that being said, we'll be right back.
All right.
So I have a question for our listeners out there. Do you own a computer? Are you having trouble with broken screens, data backup issues, password reset problems, virus spyware removal, software installation issues? If so, Slipstream Repair Computer Electronic Solutions has you covered. Contact Timothy Latunde at 845-204-1712. The email is ss.sho16@gmail.com. Once again, that is 845-204-1712. And the email is ss.sho16@gmail.com. Call or email to schedule a free consultation. Still with us in studio, Shannon Dedrick. So, switching gears a little bit from the urban exploration or trespassing, what have you. I've heard that you could be or may be the biggest fan or legit number one fan of Wynonna Earp. But it also goes even deeper for you. Now, I'm not even going to front. I've never heard of this until now. Okay? So, Tim.
What's good, brother?
You seen her familiar with the show?
I'm starting to get real familiar real quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you a fan?
I would say that I'm very curious. I'm very interested. Not like a fan yet, but I'm getting very interested. I can tell you I've only watched 2 episodes and I'm already hooked after the second one.
Okay, so out of those 2 episodes, then what do you like about it? Or what do you dislike?
I actually like that it wasn't what I was expecting it to be. I mean, I went in, you hear about it, Wynonna Earp, you think Wyatt Earp, you think maybe it's going to be like old Western type of stuff. And there's some elements in there that have that, but it has nothing to do with that. Okay. You know, this is like going like...
Give it time.
Yeah, give it... Oh, okay, give it time.
Give it time.
Oh, we'll have to give it time. This is, like I said, only a perspective of watching 2 episodes and being hooked after the second one.
So, Shannon, tell us what the show is about.
All right, so just a little bit of a disclosure. I might spoil a little bit, but I'm going to try to like just give you the gist without ruining it for anyone who has not seen the show. So basically, if you're familiar with the old Wild West and Wyatt Earp, then you're going to have a basic premise of what the show is about. If you're not familiar with who Wyatt Earp is, he was the fastest gunslinger of the West with his sidekick, Doc Holliday. They were U.S. Marshals. And a lot of stuff went down at the OK Corral against the family called the Clantons. So if you don't know about it, do your research. That'll give you a little bit of a background on who exactly Wynonna Earp is. She is 3rd generation Earp. She is the great-great-granddaughter of Wyatt Earp himself. And basically, whenever... no, let me start over.
No, you're fine.
So basically, how it goes is Wyatt Earp had fled after OK Corral up to Canada. And basically, any Earp who's the next heir in line, when they turn 27, there's a curse that's placed on the family.
Okay.
And all of these revenants, as they call them, which are demons, will come and haunt the family, and they have to kill them one by one. And there's like tons of them, so it's really impossible to keep up with it.
All right.
And it keeps replaying every time the new heir dies.
So the new heir dies, they all come back and they haunt the next person.
And when they turn 27.
Okay.
So Wynonna has just turned 27, and now she has to save her family from all of these revenants that are trying to destroy them. And she's also going to be learning about her own history and, what happened and how they can get rid of them for good. And it all has to do with Peacemaker, which is her buntline special that she carries with her, which is with its 12-inch barrel.
Yeah.
Damn.
It is a pretty intense looking weapon, that's for sure.
Right.
And she does it with a lot of grace and badassery, and there's a lot of really strong female leads in the show, which you don't really get too much of these days on TV. So definitely has a little bit of the Wild West theme going on. Definitely has a little bit of the sci-fi thing going on for sure. Definitely a genre show.
Okay.
And I encourage everybody to watch it.
I was going to ask, do you think someone that isn't into that type of genre, do you think that they would be easily pulled in Do you think they would need something that's a little bit softer as far as like sci-fi or demons and stuff like that to get into it?
So I would say that if you're not really sure what genre is, or if you're not really into genre per se, you know, a good example that's always a go-to is like Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Right.
I mean, everybody has a pretty good grasp of what that's about. And the show has been compared to that in a lot of ways, but it's not really about vampires, so you're not really getting that aspect of it. But you know, I think it appeals to pretty much everyone. So even if you're not into the whole genre thing, even if you're not into the whole sci-fi aspect of it, there's a really, really strong female leads that are in the show, which you don't always see on TV. So to see a show that's written by a female, Emily Andress, and then also having 3 really, really strong female leads that are actually showing you that mental health is okay. It's okay to be part of the LGBTQ community. It's okay to, you know, have addiction and still be able to, you know, deal with everyday life and all these things that are thrown at you, and still be able to mix that into something that's genre and sci-fi. So I think it appeals to everyone. It's just if you can handle a little bit of the, you know, crazy antics and whatnot.
Right. Oof.
Nice. All right. So what made you get into the show?
All right. So being as part of a member of the LGBTQ community myself, that was my initial pull into the show. It was on my list of things to watch because I try to watch any kind of like queer represented shows that are out there.
Okay.
And so finally I was just like, you know what? I've run out of things to watch. I'm going to check the show out. Like, I'm going to give it a good go. Watch like the first 4 episodes. If it sucks, then maybe I won't watch it. But it seems to have a pretty big following. And in my community, if a show has a big following, it's for a good reason. So I got through the first couple episodes and I'm like, I don't know. You know, it's okay. Like it's got its bumps, but I'm sure it's going to get good.
Right. It's going to smooth
By
out
the
eventually.
time that I got to the 5th episode, I was hooked. And these are hour-long episodes, mind you. And I ended up binging the whole show and finishing it within like a week and a half or 2
Jesus
weeks.
Christ.
And at the time there was only three seasons out on Netflix.
And how many episodes each season?
The first season was 13, and then every season after that is 12.
12. Okay.
Okay, so I was going to ask, the show was originally on Netflix? It was released on Netflix?
The show was originally released on Sci-Fi.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And it was on Netflix now?
It is on Netflix. So even when it was still airing on Sci-Fi, Netflix had the rights to the first 3 seasons.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Not the rights, but just the streaming rights.
Right.
Streaming rights, right.
And now they've just added the 4th season, or they're about to add the 4th season so anyone who's watched the show and wants to watch the 4th season, I know that Netflix is very soon adding it sometime in July.
I do know that Amazon Prime has season 4 now. So
Right, but that's for purchase. It's not for free streaming.
Free streaming.
So
Gotcha.
Netflix, the nice benefit about that is mostly everybody has it. The only thing that's a negative pretty much for anyone who's outside of the U.S. that's trying to watch the show, unfortunately, Netflix has taken away all streaming rights to watch the show outside of the U.S. So unless you are in the U.S., that's the only way that you can watch the show through Netflix. Your other sources to watch the show would be through YouTube TV. You can watch it through Google Play, Amazon Prime,
Gotcha.
or Apple TV. You can download the seasons there.
All right.
Is there anything in particular that makes this show so impactful to you?
I would say that the most important thing to me personally about the show it would probably be the representation.
Okay.
You don't find a lot of positive queer representation on TV in general. And when you do, you're always, worried about the bury your gays trope. I don't know if you guys have heard of the bury your gays thing.
Yeah, I've heard of it, but explain it.
But basically what it is for the longest time, anytime you'd have a female character, it could be male too. You'd have a character in a show and they'd have, a same-sex relationship, and one of them would either end up dying or getting really sick or killed off in some way. Or they were never, like the highlight of the show. So like, even if a main character had a one-time thing, it would be like a one-time thing with someone, or, it would just never be more than just like a side storyline.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that character would never be one of the main characters that was in that relationship. So and with the show, it's really nice because you're constantly reminded by the showrunner Emily Andress that not only are you seen and you're represented, but you're felt. Like, she does the research, she listens to the fans' feedback, she wants to make sure that every single beat is hit. And that goes for the actors too. Like, not only do they do their own research, but they're also part of the queer community. So having people that are queer playing queer roles is so important.
Right.
There's so many queer roles that have been fulfilled by people who are not part of the queer community. They might be an ally, and that's fine. Like, I totally love that they're playing those characters to begin with, but to actually see a queer person in that role is 10 times better, because you don't always see that.
No.
And then also to see a relationship that blossoms so slowly. It's like such a slow progression, but it's beautiful. And seeing things that people go through that are just like your own life, like your own everyday life, is just really beautiful to see that. And to have a constant reminder that, you know, this character is one of them is not going to get killed off.
Right.
You know, they stay together for the 4 seasons. Like, that doesn't happen.
No, it
like,
doesn't.
That's a first. Like, that is like so important. And I feel like ever since the show, you know, first aired in like 2016, ever since then, like, other networks, other shows, other people in the industry have taken notice, and they've taken notes, and now they've applied that to, you know, things that are currently on TV now.
Right. I was going to say that
it's broken a lot of barriers. I mean, it has a lot to do with the cast. I mean, with Kat Burrell, I mean, she's like a queer icon now.
Right.
You know, and Dom also, they are just like one of the most incredible people on the planet. Not only for their queer representation, but also for everything that they've done for the show too. So those are like the two people who play the main characters that are in a relationship, and it's just it's incredible to see.
Now, do you think that it helped the community to see a lot of that? Like, did it help the queer community like come better to terms with themselves? Like, if they have like these inhibitions, or if they have people that are like being mean to them and stuff, did it help them like surpass and transcend like that feeling that they probably have internally, where they feel less than themselves?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's not even just, you know, being able to see themselves on screen for the first time. It's also just being able to, you know, watch these people, you do all these crazy stunts and all these crazy sci-fi things, but at the end of the day, you know, it's a real person,
right?
And you know that they still have emotions, and you know that at the end of the day, you know, people still do struggle with addiction and mental health and all of these things. And also, a lot of it honestly has to do with the fans, and it has a lot to do with the cast. Like, this cast is so opened with their own mental health and with their own sexuality, and they speak so openly on it. A lot of people who call themselves Earpers, those are the fans, have come up to them and thanked them. Like, you know, you helped me with, you know, a lot of mental things that I was going through, and you helped me come out, and you helped me be able to feel more myself, and you helped me, you know, come to terms with my sexuality, and you helped me with a plethora of things, you know, and it's so amazing to hear that, and then hear the cast, you know, just respond in such a positive way, and always be so giving of their time, and always be like so generous at these conventions. I mean, they do like 20 conventions a year sometimes, and these are fan run conventions. This is not like only just Comic-Cons. Like, they do Comic-Cons too, but these are conventions that are put on by the fans.
Right, they're getting together,
and they get the whole cast to go there. Like, that's amazing. And they're all over the world. It's not just in America. Like, this is in the UK, this is in Germany, this is in Spain, this is in, you know, Australia. They're everywhere. Jesus.
It's pretty cool. I think the fact that people are able to relate or to feel the authenticity of it, you know what I'm saying? That it hits a lot closer, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. So, I totally agree with that.
So I can see why the fan base would be so tight, or why it would mean so much to them. You know what I'm saying? It's different. They can absolutely relate.
Right,
you know?
right. I was going to say that same thing with Black Panther, as far as like African Americans, as far as Africans, because it was very big in Africa, Nigeria and Ghana and stuff. And it's just seeing like someone being portrayed as a strong black male hero, or even in most cases, actually, it was mostly females, even strong black female heroes in that movie. So it was a big thing. And that's why, like, I feel like the similar beats, like when what you were saying with people coming up while Chadwick was alive, you know, rest in peace to him. He said that people came up to him many times, thanked him, you know what I mean? And saying, like, you know, thanked all of them, really. You know, thank you for, you helped me better understand that I'm a strong black male or a strong black female, and that I can, you know, I mean, you can't necessarily be a prince, but you can treat yourself like a prince and stuff. So they looked at stuff like that, and it made them feel better.
I mean, it's amazing what proper representation can do on screen.
Right. It's very true.
You know, and like I said, it's not only just the LGBTQ community, it's also, you know, in the African American community, it's also in the Asian community. Like, you know, it's in so many different communities where it's like you don't ever really see yourself on screen.
Right.
You don't feel represented. You don't feel like, you're like, okay, oh, I could probably feel like that, but like to actually see yourself and then be like, wow, this is exactly how I feel. This is they get it. They must have had someone that was writing this in the office that looks just like me, or that went through the same things that I went through. It's not just some, you know, cis white male that wrote this script.
That just wrote it, right.
You know what I mean? It's like they had someone who knew what they were doing.
Yeah, I respect that, the process.
Definitely so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so nice to like see these things on screen, and you know, Emily just really doing her research and really just caring so much about who plays these characters. She has like a no asshole policy.
Oh,
like,
even better. Yeah.
She's like, I don't care if you're like a third rate actor. If you're not an asshole and I see something in you, like I'm giving you a chance over the guy who's like a first rate actor.
First rate, but he's an asshole. Right.
Like, because, and she's like, and that's why I've been able to keep such an amazing cast, because and she gives people chances that maybe have never had a chance before.
Right.
So she's trying to just appeal to everyone, and I think that's amazing. Like, we need more people that are like that.
Has she produced or created anything else?
Yeah, so she also produced and I believe I'm not 100% she was the showrunner for Lost Girl as well.
Okay.
It's mostly Canadian TV, so this is a Canadian show. And yeah, I know she's working on a few other projects right now. I know she said that she would like to continue with a potential 5th season for the show or a movie.
We got to make it happen.
We got to make it happen.
Yeah.
This is why we're fighting to bring Wynonna home.
Right. So the show is based off the novel series called Wynonna Earp. You had mentioned 4 seasons, correct? Released April 1st, 2016, and it ended April 9th, 2021, which is very recent.
Yes. That was pretty crushing.
Yes. The production locations were in Canada.
Yep.
Right?
They were in Didsbury, Alberta, Canada. So that's right outside of Calgary.
Okay. And I think you had touched on this, but mostly, if not all, are Canadian actors.
They're all Canadian actors.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Definitely taking a stand for Canada, huh?
Shout outs to Canada.
Yeah.
Yep. Can't wait to go.
Can't wait to go.
Can't wait to go. Waiting for these bans to lift so I can head on over.
Right. But can they come down now?
Not yet.
They can't come down
No, the border's still closed.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
On both sides. Gotcha.
Now, who was your favorite character on the show and why? If you had to pick one.
You stumped her. You got to pick one.
It's not that you stumped me. It's just that I love all the characters so much. And the 3 main female leads are so hard. I mean, Wynonna is so complex and so funny and so witty and so sarcastic.
She got wit for days, man, starting from episode 1.
You have no idea.
Oh, my God.
And it just gets better with time. And, I mean, Kat Burrell, I mean, just incredible. And then just to see her growth as Nicole Hott on the show is just amazing, and finding out more of her backstory. And then, you know, Waverly, Wynonna's sister, played by Dom, is just such an amazing character as well. I mean, they all hold their own special thing. I love all of them equally, I think.
Okay, that's kind of amazing, because then again, I've only watched 2 episodes, and the sister, and I think Mrs. Hott, she was the police officer, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, they basically, I guess in episode 2, they gave like a little bit of a baby backstory to both of them. I mean, Officer Hott basically just showed up and met Waverly in the bar.
Right.
And I saw the connection there almost immediately. So
what did you think of the scene?
Whoa, that scene is hot. What's going on?
So, yeah.
You could feel the tension. And
Yep.
yeah, out of season 2. I didn't think you would get that serious that quick.
Episode 2. But I got you.
Oh, season 2, episode 2. I didn't think they were going to get that serious in episode 1 or 2.
I mean,
rather.
I just think it was just a little oopsie with the tap.
Wow.
You know.
Okay. It's a hell of a oopsie.
Right. But Waverly doesn't know anything about that side of herself, so.
Interesting. That's
I
true.
guess we'll only see what unfolds from here.
Yeah, I'm going to have to keep going on that one too. Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead, man.
Go for it, bro. You get
My fault.
Yeah.
Is there a specific setting or time that this show takes place
It takes place in current times.
Okay.
But they have flashbacks as the show progresses to different times.
Okay.
But it's I would say 95% of the show is current time.
Okay. So they go through time, you're saying?
They don't go through time. They have like little visions back
Okay,
into
flashbacks. Yeah, you were saying
Yeah.
that. Okay. All right. I have to really seriously watch this. Yeah.
It's really, really good.
It's
Without
grabbing me.
giving too much of it away, I mean, there's just so much. So the really awesome thing about Emily, the showrunner, is that she wrote really 3-dimensional characters, and you don't really understand how 3-dimensional they are until after the whole first season is over.
Right. Okay.
So once you get into the second season, you already know everything about all of the main characters, and that's when stuff really starts to go down. Like, the first season's amazing,
yeah.
but the second season is like, wow. The third season is like, what just happened? And the fourth season is like a free for all, basically, because they weren't sure they were going to get a fifth, so they kind of just did whatever, and it was amazing. Literally just did whatever. Like, every single fandom note, Emily hit it.
Okay.
Like, someone made a joke about something on Twitter, she included it. And it was like these little notes to all the Earpers that were like obsessed with this show. And it's like anyone else would be like, have no idea what that is, but like, we know.
Right. She kept her ear real close to you guys. That's interesting. That's actually really nice. You don't see that very often.
Yeah. You also don't see a cast that live tweets every single Friday night that an episode releases and chats with every single fan on Twitter.
Wow. That's amazing.
So that's amazing right there.
Right.
I mean, there are some shows that are out there that do that. So I've been told. I don't really follow any other shows, so I'm not sure. At least not shows that are currently on the air. But I know that I only got to be part of the live tweets for the last 6 episodes of the show because I found the show pretty late back in December of 2020. So, you know, I only got just the tail end of that. But that was amazing to be able to chat with the casts and stuff. Like,
right.
They're very giving of their time, like I said, and they're always reaching out and always doing everything for the fans. I have tickets to go see the cast next year.
Okay.
In New Orleans, so that'll be pretty cool for another convention that they're doing.
That's pretty cool.
You're gonna get some signatures. You're gonna ask them personal questions. What's gonna happen when you finally meet them?
I don't know, honestly. I mean, maybe get a picture. Like, I'm not the type of person to be like uber goober over someone. Like, they're just people.
Yeah, they're just people. Right.
They're just people. And of course I would be super excited to meet them. But like, I would just like, it's going to be so overwhelming. It's not like it's like Comic-Con where it's like, you know, tons of different actors.
Right.
This is one convention for one specific set of people. So everyone there's a super fan if they've paid the money to go. So it's like, I don't feel like I'm going to get any one-on-one time to have like conversations with them. But if I did, that would be super cool. And I would totally warrant that. And I would love that. I would love that more than being like, oh, hey, can I have your autograph?
Right. Yeah, a quick sign.
Just because they're such cool people. And I would love to just like sit and chat with them.
And pick their brains and figure out what episodes they like and everything. All right. Maybe you have to figure out how to talk. I mean, that's how some super fans. I've noticed that in Comic-Con, like some super fans will go out of their way to do something either obnoxious to get their attention, or they'll like, I don't know, they have like plans of trying to get the actor or actress alone so they can talk or
no, not
anything.
me. Not me. No, I'm like pretty chill about it. Like, if it happens and it's meant to happen, then it'll happen. Like, I'm not going to force anything. If the universe meant it to be, then it'll be.
It'll be. There's nothing wrong with that.
Now, when this show first came out, how was the buzz? Did it do well?
So, as I said just a little bit ago, I only found the show in December of 2020, and the show came out in 2016. So, from what I've heard, if you guys are familiar with Tales of the Black Badge, for anyone who's listening, who's a Wynonna Earp fan, run by Kevin and Bonnie, they kind of have followed the show from episode 1 and interviewed the cast a load of times and have basically talked about all the struggles and all the campaigns that have been run for pretty much every single season to save the show. So the show was never a ratings hit. And what I mean by that was not that it wasn't highly rated by the fans, but it wasn't highly rated by all the people who pay the money for the commercials.
Gotcha.
So there's something called Nielsen ratings, and Nielsen ratings are basically data that they collect based on how many people stay and watch all the commercials, and is it streamed or is it watched on live television, based on, you know, what time slot it's at and things like that. So the show was never a ratings hit. So unfortunately, they were never sure from season 1 to then to season 2 to then to season 3, is the show going to get renewed? So, and then season 3 almost didn't happen into season 4. So when season 3 ended, they were on like a 1.5 year hiatus. They had absolutely no idea if season 4 was going to happen or not. And the fans actually did something super incredible and kept rallying for the show and went to as much lengths as purchasing like hundreds of billboards in Times Square in New York City and had them like playing on like a constant loop.
Wow, just to get that interest.
Right. And the show ended up getting renewed.
Right.
They couldn't get the funding. So IDW is the comic book publishing company. Well, they also have another separate parent company called IDW Entertainment. They didn't have enough funding to make the show happen. So actually Sci-Fi kicked in the rest of the money to actually make the season for season 4.
Wow. Shout outs to Sci-Fi. Yeah. I mean, for getting it to keep going. Yeah.
Right. But they also promised us a season 5, which we did not get. So
we may take that back. But at the same time,
I'm not going to say anything further about
No,
Sci-Fi.
no, that's fine.
But
I do have a question off of that then. Do you think that they're going to, you guys are rallying really hard to get season 5 back in?
So I'd like to think that we've only just begun the fight.
Okay.
I mean, they announced in April of 2021, February of 2021, that the show was officially canceled. And from that day on, we rallied and have rallied since then. There have been multiple campaigns that have run across the country to save this show. So, you know, Earpers, you know, people set up GoFundMes and things like that. I know that there was someone out in California who set up a GoFundMe for one of those airplane banners that you see when you go to the beach and it has something behind it and had the hashtag Bring Wynonna Home on it. Then we had another Earper who had organized some mobile billboards all for the West Coast out in Los Angeles. And they actually went around to all of like Netflix and Disney and Paramount Plus and all of these, you know, streaming networks and parked the little box truck that has like a moving billboard around it.
Where it rotates around.
Exactly. We have Earpers who have kicked in money for actual billboards like on the highway. And then most recently we had the campaign in New York City, which I was a part of, that basically had the mobile billboard there. We got together with a bunch of Earpers, and then within 48 hours, there was over $6,000 donated to run the campaign for the Times Square billboards.
How long did the billboards run?
I think it was only 5 minutes.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So they took a whole corner of a building in Times Square, and they had all of the billboards running live, and it was all fan art. So all of the art that all the fans have created were playing on a constant loop on that. And, you know, people were asking us about the show. Of course, we're excited to tell them, you know, about the show. And then, of course, we had the mobile billboard parked right across the street. So we're telling them about that. So it was a good day. And I think we definitely got some people to start watching the show, which is super cool.
Okay.
And whether it gained any momentum at all, where any media outlets saw it, I mean, that's super cool. Like, I hope it did.
Okay.
Anything to keep the show trending.
And then
save our show.
I'll ask you this then. Do you have any other methods of getting the word out for this show?
So
you personally? Me
personally, I have a TikTok that I run that I just post different clips of me and LGBTQ queer couple. And that's gained a decent following since I started it a few months ago, and that's been going pretty well. And then I've since used that platform that I sort of built with that couple to then talk about some of the mobile billboards and some of the other things that we've been running as far as like campaigns to save the show. So, yeah, it's gaining some momentum. It's definitely, you know, having a lot of people comment and saying, oh, what's the show? I've never heard of it. Or where's this from? Or so it's really cool. And then I, you know, also have gathered data on Facebook groups too. When we were running our campaign for New York City, I wanted to know where are these people tuning in from? What countries are they from?
Right.
Is it available in their country to watch? Are they watching it legally? Are they watching it through Netflix? Are they watching it?
Right. Downloading it or something like that. Yeah.
It's really cool. We're doing anything that we can, really. But keeping it trending on Twitter is like the best thing you can do right now. It's keeping it trending on Twitter and Instagram.
Okay.
All these efforts and this dedication that you and other fans have been doing, you think it's working?
I definitely think we're getting some notices.
Okay.
I mean, a couple of the networks have reached out in response to the fans.
Nice.
So part of there's a lot of different things that we do for reaching out to the potential networks. I mean, we'll tag them in Twitter and say, this is why you should choose our show. Or sometimes we have campaigns where on a certain day of the week, you know, 30, 40, 50,000, 100,000 Earpers are sending emails to the networks saying you should think of our show.
So like a planned
so
emailing.
like sometimes it's for Hulu, sometimes it's for Netflix, sometimes it's for Prime, sometimes it's for Paramount Plus, sometimes it's for IMDb TV, sometimes it's for whoever. We've even done postcards where we'll mail tons of postcards to these networks. Or, you know, I mean, there's, you know, we do snail mail, we do TV. I mean, we've had media coverage on TV. Like when they did those mobile billboards and things in LA, like that was on the news.
Okay.
So we're getting noticed, and some of those responses to emails, like Hulu has said, like, we've put it on the list, like we know that you guys are into it. Not necessarily they're going to choose it, but like we know about it, basically.
Right. They're aware.
I sent an email ages ago to Paramount Plus, haven't heard anything. They opened up a case ticket and never got back to me.
Wow.
So they've definitely said, you know, and then even Emily, the showrunner, she said, like, you know, we're in talks every single day with networks.
Okay.
Like, she obviously can't give any details on anything, you know, until they sign a contract or do whatever. And the whole entire cast is still into doing the show, so that's not an issue. It's just finding a distributor. We need to find a U.S. distributor to pick up the show. So, like, they have their Canadian half of the distributor. They need a U.S. half.
And it can't just be like Netflix? Because I know Netflix is doing pretty well.
Right, so here's the thing. You have to consider that the show already has 4 seasons. When Netflix picks up a show, it's usually like, and it's only had like one, maybe 2 seasons.
Right.
This is a very seasoned show, okay? So Netflix has a lot of its own originals right now, and so does Prime. So unless the show is like in its very, you know, infancy stages,
right, it's a lot harder.
Chances are they're probably not going to pick it up. This is why we were shooting so hard initially for Paramount Plus.
Okay. Because
Paramount Plus was a revamped network. They used to be called something else. And now they're rebranding, and it's a whole new streaming service, and it's now going to be soon worldwide. And so we were really trying to shoot for them, and IMDb TV as well. Okay. And now I know that CW is in the talks too.
Oh, CW, not bad.
So CW is kind of like one of those love it, hate it kind of situations, because with sci-fi we could get away with a lot of stuff. You haven't gotten further into the seasons yet.
Okay.
But that was still when it was in its like not on the 10 o'clock block.
Ah, I see.
So once they got to the 10 o'clock block, it was kind of like a lot of like, go fuck yourself, and literally said anything.
Right.
And you could swear openly on TV, and it was totally fine. It was scary, it was gory, it was whatever, sexual, and it was totally fine.
Okay.
So the concern is like, CW is going to censor that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't see CW playing that.
Not only that, but a lot of people have a huge grudge against CW for another ship couple.
Oh.
That was Clexa, and that was from the 100. Or 100.
Yeah. And that was a big fiasco.
Yeah, because one of them got killed off, like the bury your gays trope.
Jesus.
And so a lot of people were like swearing off CW after that. So
that's so unfortunate.
But they have a lot of other queer shows on CW. They have a lot of representation. But we want to make sure it's a good fit in all aspects. We don't want the show to lose its essence. We don't want it to lose the greatness of why it's so amazing and why so many people love it.
Right. I mean, just seeing from the first 2 episodes, there is a lot of sarcasm and a lot of wit that goes into it. So maybe CW will cut a lot of that stuff out. I mean, there's a particular scene in the car with her talking to Doll. So
Dolls,
I could see that being cut out. So I understand it now. Now that I'm really thinking about it. Yeah.
Well, if you're gonna have to censor things down and just really change the whole script and whatnot, I would not even.
Exactly.
Want it to be a part of.
And that's exactly what Emily said from the beginning. Like, I'm not going to pick a network just to get the show to continue if it's not going to be what everyone wants it to be.
I agree.
And what I want it to be. Like, she knows who her crowd is. She knows exactly what she's doing. She's been doing this for 5 years, like with this show. Or 6 years, and she knows exactly what the show needs. So I know for a fact that she's like, if it's not a right fit, she's not going to pick it just to get it to continue. And we don't want that either, as the fans. Like, we want the show to continue, but if it's going to be like some half-assed thing, like that's not going to like have everything that we want and need, like, no, forget it. We'll just take a movie a few years down the line. That's fine.
Yeah. How many campaigns have you been involved with?
The New York City campaign was my first one.
Okay.
So I sort of like put my feelers out there on one of the Facebook groups I was a part of. And some people messaged me. I was just really initially looking for people in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut sort of area so that we could all meet up if we wanted and do whatever.
Right.
And it was funny. It was like 2 people reached, one from New Jersey and one from Brooklyn. And then it was like, one was like in Vermont and I was like, sure, why not? And then another person that I had talked to previously about something totally separate, but about the show, was like, well, can I be part of it? And she's like in LA. And I was like, absolutely. So
That's
then,
cool.
so like,
on down.
no, she didn't fly down, but I'm saying, so we got together once a week, every Sunday,
I see.
through Zoom.
Oh, okay.
And had
So
meetings.
Zoom chats. Okay.
Yep. And we would just write down our notes and we would get to work.
That's pretty dope.
Interesting.
So it was, it's pretty cool. So now we all still keep in contact, and even though the campaign's over, and we got to get together really soon, actually, and catch up and figure out what our next plan is going to be, because we want to still continue.
Right.
You know, we just don't want to like overwhelm the people who have donated so much already with donating even more money. You know, if it's all coming in succession, it's like, well, I don't have another $5 to spare. You know, I've already donated to 20 causes this month for Wynonna.
Right.
So we want to wait just a little bit. I mean, people are still doing their due diligence in the meantime. So,
do you have anything a little bit more interesting than just asking for donations? Do you have anything else planned, like maybe like watching episodes together, or having like fan meetings online?
There are some Earpers that do have that. Like, I know that there's an Earper who like picks certain episodes on Friday nights, and they do it maybe through Twitch or something like that, I think.
Okay.
And there has been other times where they've had other events. I know there's like the Bring Wynonna Home campaign that's got Jill, Kayla, and everyone, and they do a lot. They're the ones who did the original New York City billboards.
Okay.
So they're like the OGs of the
of
the fandom.
Yeah.
They've also met the cast like quite a few times, and they recently did some billboards up in Didsbury, which is actually in the town where the show was filmed.
Okay.
Trying to rally for all the businesses there that benefited while Wynonna was filming there, to help keep like the economy going.
Right.
So I know that they really appreciated that. So yeah, we're trying to do everything we can.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Keep it going.
Is there fan base in Canada a big one?
I would say that the biggest fan base is probably in the U.S., only because we probably have the largest, obviously we have a larger population than Canada, but what I mean is we also have the most streaming services that offer Wynonna. Gotcha. And being that it's never been taking off of Netflix US, we've been consistently able to watch it like this entire time, while they have taken it off Canadian Netflix, and they've taken it off Netflix around America, or around the world, excuse me.
Okay.
So unfortunately, other Earpers are not able to watch it. I mean, some people in the UK I know can watch it, I think, through Sky TV, some of the networks that they have there. So,
and there's no like DVD box set or anything that you can get?
So there was a GoFundMe that they did quite a few years ago, that where you could get Blu-ray DVDs
There you go.
for like the first couple of seasons. And people are still waiting to receive some of
Oh,
those.
wow. Okay. Different problem entirely.
So yeah, that was a whole fiasco of its own. So yes, the first 3 seasons, some of them were available on DVD, but it was like, if you got them while they were released, yes. And then I've heard that you can get like some third-party ones from China or something, but I don't mess with that.
Right. Only trying to support.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I would love to have like a legitimate DVD that was in good quality that I could watch, you know, that wasn't ripped off and the cast wasn't getting any cut of it, or, you know.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of sucks for people in Canada, right?
Because the show is
That's
filmed
right.
there.
Right,
I know,
right.
it's
The
insane.
show's filmed there. They're all Canadian actors. And yet the Canadian fan base, you can't even watch the shit. You know what I'm saying?
You would have thought that it would have made it very easy.
So to kind of clarify, when it initially aired, it aired on Canadian cable. It aired on American cable. It aired on Australian cable. It aired on UK cable. And Australia and UK just got season 4, so like they're in the process. I think it actually just finished now. And whoever your cable provider is, I'm pretty sure you could still stream it through them. But that's if you have cable, right? So,
Right.
and even fans have gone as far as setting up a US iTunes or YouTube account so they can watch the show
Wow.
if they're from around the world, because they can't watch it unless they're registered to US, which I think is just ridiculous. It's like, why should you have to jump through all these hoops to
just
watch
watch
such
it.
an amazing show? Which is why initially I thought, okay, Prime or Netflix or any of these other really big, you know, ball players are a good option, because then the world can watch the show.
Right.
It's not about just the US. The US is not everything.
Right, right. I mean, even in the U.S., there's some shows that you can't even watch, and despite it being on Netflix, it's just blocked in some countries. Like if you go to like Mexico or like Spain or some places in the U.K.
Oh yeah, so
they block
Netflix
it.
is different
Right.
around the world. So like that's one thing that I noticed when I lived in Australia. Like a lot of the shows that I had saved in like my watch list were not available as soon as you are in that different server
Right,
area,
right.
or they figure out where your whatever you call that is.
Yeah.
Then yeah.
Wherever your IP address is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But I know that people use VPNs to get around that
Oh, I
too.
absolutely used a VPN to watch some of my favorite
Yeah.
shows, because I was like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it's all about the licensing and the streaming rights and how much they have leased it for and whatever.
It may be an interesting vector to just go after them and like really hit them hard just to see if they can get distribution going. Because sometimes distribution
It's a little bit more complicated.
It's a
than
little
that.
bit more. Maybe it is. I mean,
It is.
That's unfortunate.
At least for this show. I can't
Right.
speak for other shows, but
Right. I mean, they all probably go through the same thing. So it's more difficult to go through the distribution than to actually just have like speak to the fans and just hit it from like the fan perspective is what I'm trying to say.
yeah.
So you can't just go back behind and try and get like talk to Netflix directly or talk to Hulu directly.
I mean, you can try, but whether you're going to warrant a response or not is another thing. You know what I mean? It's just, when they get such an influx of all these people reaching out, you know, it just becomes overwhelming at some point, and they probably just don't respond or look at any of them after a certain point either.
Yeah.
But at least it's on their brain,
Okay.
you know. To touch back on, if you asked me if I had anything going on with my group as far as like coming up with a new campaign or anything like that, yes, we do have something that we had talked about quite a bit, but we were waiting for some time. I don't want to give away anything.
Okay. No spoilers.
No spoilers, but if we are able to pull it off, it's going to be a heavy hitter, and it's going to reach the right people. So
Okay.
Dope. All right. As of now, the show is done. All right. Were the final
sounds so final.
were the final episodes written well enough for a solid ending?
Damn, good question.
Or did they leave it open, like to be able to continue if they wanted to?
So yes to both.
Okay.
Yes to both. So, I mean, officially, we all heard around the same time. I mean, I'm sure, you know, Emily, the showrunner, and the cast, like, probably knew a little bit before they officially announced it to everyone in February that the show was over, or that Netflix would not be, not Netflix, Sci-Fi would not be renewing it for a 5th season.
Okay.
As of now, the show is done. So, were the final episodes written well enough for a solid ending, or did they leave it open to be able to continue if they
Right,
wanted
right.
to.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah, so as far as like continuing the actual show itself, of course, there's always open endings. I mean, Emily can pull. I mean, there's characters in the show, which I'm not giving anything away, but that have died several times.
Oh.
An
Oh,
infinite,
Jesus Christ.
like a death that's ended. Okay, like they're not coming back, but somehow they end up reviving.
Oh.
So it's like, is it really final though? You know, and it's like there's certain aspects where it's like, well, we could pull off this storyline, or we could pull off this storyline, or this happened, but like, have we seen enough of that side of that character? You know, or what would this look like, or what would that look like? So, yes, there's definitely room to have another season. And then as far as like, did the show end very nicely? Like, saying that I cried is probably an understatement. Like, it was ugly tears, which I do not cry.
Oh no.
I do not cry, but like, it's like tears of happiness.
Okay.
Just because you got to see some things that you've been waiting for a really long time. In many different aspects, like not just one area, just like certain things were just tied up that you've just been like wondering about like the whole time.
You were saying there was a hiatus between that too when they came back for season 4, if I recall correctly.
Right. So when they first filmed season 4, they had filmed the first 6 episodes, and then they were like, "All right, see you next week." They were taking a week off in between, and then COVID happened, and then they didn't see each other for like 6 or 7 months or something crazy like that.
Wow. That's okay. Not even COVID can stop it. Yeah.
Right. And they were actually one of the first TV shows to go back to production. So they set all the safety protocols. They basically set the industry standard for returning to work.
That's awesome.
After COVID. So that totally incredible. And then the second half of the 4th season was just, it was written for the fans by Emily. Love Emily Andress. Like, she was just like, "Oh, you guys wanted this? Well, here you go, like times 20."
Right. Wow, we got to get it back for that season 5.
We got to get it back for a season 5. I mean, a lot of people are saying, I'm really happy with the way that it ended, and like, I'm okay with it being over. I'm not one of those people. Like, I'm happy with the way it ended, but I don't think it's the end. And I also like would hope that it's not going to be a movie. Not that I wouldn't want a movie if the TV thing didn't work out, but I've seen movies come after TV shows before, and they just don't hold the same. No. You know.
Yep.
And especially if it's a few years down the road, it's like, is that really like, are as many people going to be as involved? Are they still? I mean, people still love the show, obviously.
Right.
But it's just not going to have the same feeling, like the same. You know, it's not the same as a movie.
Do you have any fear that it may take too long and some of the actors starts to get older? You know, like let's say if they renew it like after 2 years or 3 years, do you have like any fears that maybe they fall off or something happens?
Of course. I mean, you have to be mindful of things like that. I mean, even though, you know, all of the actors pretty much told Emily, you know, "Hey, listen, like I'm very much willing to continue the show." Several times they've said that. I mean, we've watched them talk about it on all these, since we can't have in-person conventions, now they do all these online conventions. So we get to see all these interviews pretty consistently throughout the pandemic. And, you know, they've all spoken how they love the show and they would love it to continue. So, you know, I think that maybe some of the actors are fine with the way that it's ended. I mean, they've spoken about that. And I think it's just because their biggest fear is if it gets into new hands, are they going to have a different crew? Right. What's that going to look like?
Right.
Are they going to have different people behind the camera? What's that going to look like? Are they going to have different writers? What's that going to look like? And so they don't want it to kill the vibe of the show. They don't want it to kill the soul of the show. So it's not even only about the network. It's about the behind the scenes stuff too.
Right. The crew and everybody running everything.
Because they were like a family. Like they'll talk about it all the time. They were like a family. Like they were friends with these people. Like they had dinner with these people. They invited them to hang out with their families. Like this cast is not like any cast. Like they didn't act superior. They didn't act like they were better than everyone else. They literally hung out with everyone and they're just very down to earth.
Okay.
And I think that's why they have such a huge following, because it's not only about the show, it's about them as people.
Right.
Yeah, so your opinion then, what was the best season out of the 4?
Season 3 was just unbelievable. Like a lot of things happened in season 3, and it was just, you know, a lot of really good action, a lot of really good sarcasm, a lot of really good, you know, one-off things. But season 4 was like, holy crap. Like season 4, episode 2, for those of you listening that have seen that. Wow. And also, just like I said, the second half of season 4, that was just literally written for the fans. Like, for the fans. Like, every single aspect of every one of those episodes was just so off the wall, over the top. Like, not anything else pretty much like the rest of the show. Like, all the crazy antics you see in the show throughout the show, the sarcasm, the sexual innuendos, just everything. Like, times 1,000. Like, it was just kind of like, what is the craziest, most ridiculous thing we could possibly think of on the planet that no one would ever come up with? And can we film that? And would it be cool? Why not? Let's just try it. And that's like how the whole second half of season 4 was. It was just the most wild ride. It was amazing. I loved it. I love Emily.
So it almost sounds, though, like it's going to be tough if they come back with the season 5, because it sounds like season 4 was some good shit.
Right.
And you don't want anything to be brought back that's going to, you know, kind of
like
bring
the
it
vibe.
down. Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like, I mean, Tim, you've only watched the show two episodes.
Right.
And, you know, you haven't even watched the show at all. So basically, you really just have to have seen the whole thing to really understand, I guess. But for any of like the really hardcore, you know, diehard fans, you'd really just have to understand all the different things that Emily could think of to like throw out, and it would still be amazing. And you could still take all those really amazing, happy things that happened in season 4 and throw them and blend them into season 5. Because if there's anything that anyone's ever learned about the show, is that you could literally be laughing so hard one minute and bawling your eyes out the second.
Yeah.
Because you could go from something really funny to like something really emotional happening in the next scene. So that's the great thing about the show, and that's what keeps it so entertaining and so three-dimensional.
Then I can piggyback another question. You said Emily was the writer, right?
Emily Andress, yes.
Okay. Is she can you tell the pacing of the writing, like when the story is happening? Because you were saying that you can go from a moment where you're very happy to a moment that you're sad. Can you tell that the pacing feels natural and that it's on point?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Like everything was really thought out. So I'm not going to say that, you know, Emily's taking credit for like all the writing in the show. Like there's a lot of really amazing writers in the show. She's not the only writer of the show. Like for example, like I know she wrote the series finale, and I know she wrote like a lot of episodes in the first season, but throughout the rest of the seasons, I mean, she's the showrunner. She's overseeing literally everything happening in the show.
So she's the final okay. Yeah.
Right. She's overseeing everybody. So, you know, when you have that kind of, you know, position, you know, you have to rely on the writing room. Of course, I'm sure she probably gets the final say as far as the scripts go.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, definitely it was on pace. Like it's not just something that's like randomly thrown in there and it seems out of place or anything like that. It's like, it's always, and then sometimes it is a surprise, but it's not a surprise that had nothing to do with anything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you on it.
So.
All
right. I'm going to be wrapping it up soon.
All right, bro.
But you guys want to touch on anything else? Any last thoughts on Wynonna Earp?
Yeah, I got a last thought. Yo, what's up with my man Dolls? I said Doll before. I meant Dolls. What's up? Why is he so stuck up, though?
I mean, I guess you'll find a little bit of his backstory as you continue on through the show.
All right.
Dolls is definitely one of my favorite characters.
He's growing on me, but man, that man is stuck up. Though.
No, I know. He's got a big stick up his butt. But it's for good reason. I mean, everything that he's been through and, you know, like his background and things like that, which you don't really know anything by episode 2. So you got a lot of watching to do to really understand his character. But he's definitely one of my favorite characters of the show for sure.
And then I guess Hank, who I surmised was Doc Holliday, like almost immediately. Yo, his acting is on point. The actor is amazing.
Tim Rozon is incredibly, incredibly talented.
Right. I could tell as soon as I saw him on screen. Yeah.
Right. And he totally came up with the accent like last minute
Wow.
and
Wow.
just nailed it. And it just was perfect.
Right.
So
And the mannerisms and everything. He basically became him for all intents and purposes. I just love it.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, he's incredible. He's actually coming out with a new show on Sci-Fi called Surreal Estate,
Okay. Good for him.
which I'm super excited about checking out. I think it's premieres sometime later this month. And the other lead, Melanie Scrofano, who plays Wynonna Earp, is also going to be in that initial episode with him too.
Oh, okay.
So you'll notice if you actually watch Wynonna Earp and then you watch any other Canadian TV, it's a very small circle. And a lot of the actors are all in the same thing.
Right. I respect it.
Because I also watch Good Witch, which Kat Burrell is one of the main characters of that show as well, which now also has a queer storyline as well.
There we go.
First time on Hallmark Channel, so it's like a big deal.
Yeah, right.
They've had queer storylines before in like some of the Hallmark movies, but for a TV show, it's the first time. And I would like to think it has a lot to do with Kat Burrell being who she is and fighting for more queer representation. So
All right.
super exciting to see that on screen for sure.
Yeah. May have to check that out too.
Good Witch is very much like vanilla Seventh Heaven.
Oh, you know what? I like Seventh Heaven.
I liked Seventh Heaven when I was
liked it.
growing up too, and now I look back and I'm thinking, dang. But Good Witch is very much like feel good, like very like if there's anything like less than G rated, like if there's anything like more vanilla than G rated, that would be Good Witch for sure.
Okay.
But it's like, you're down in the dumps and you need something like feel good.
Right.
Like that's the type of show you want to watch.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and the fact that now they're getting a little bit more witchier and darker in like the 7th season is like super exciting. And plus Kat Burrell's in it. So like what's better than Kat Burrell
It's nothing
playing a
wrong with
witch?
that.
Like,
Yeah. I'm starting to I'll just say this and leave it alone after that. I'm starting to see a lot of also Firefly vibes. I don't think you've ever watched Firefly.
I have not
you?
watched Firefly, but you're not the only one who's mentioned that.
Yeah.
And from the gist of what I've gotten, it's similar in some aspects to that show.
Right. The camaraderie is there. I mean, it's Josh Whedon that put it together, and then he always brings in Nathan.
Oh, Joss
Fillion.
Whedon? Yeah, because he did Buffy as well.
He did Buffy as well. He did also, I think, what was it, the Avengers, I believe it was? Or like some of the Marvel stuff. And he would make sure to bring, different characters in. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I've heard it's very similar to that. And I don't know. It's just a really great show. You guys should check it out.
Right.
All right.
Hopefully, Josh, you're now a believer.
Are you a believer, Josh?
You have convinced me. No, but Shannon, thanks again for coming on and sharing with us. We greatly appreciate it. Is there anything or anyone you would like to plug or shout out?
I would just like to say thanks for everybody for listening to me ramble about Wynonna Earp. It's definitely something that I think if you're part of the LGBTQ community or you just like really awesome sci-fi and really crazy antics and sarcasm, then you should just check it out. It's an awesome show.
Yeah.
And
I'll definitely be watching more.
And that's it.
Nice. You want to shout out any of your social media accounts so fans can get at you?
Yeah, if you want to check me out on Twitter, it's Channel Flannel. That's SHANNEL_FLANNEL. That's on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram.
Nice.
That makes it easy.
Yeah. You want to hit them with your social?
Yeah. So my Twitter is my Instagram is Tunde. So I got to be using Instagram more so I can remember. TUNDE 2017. And my Twitter is Retro Show. RETROSHO.
And you guys can always find me at Josh_Toth3. That's my Instagram. My Facebook is Joshua Toth. We want to shout out our editor, YO, a.k.a. Jackson Wallace.
Shout outs to Jackson.
Yeah, also big shout out to Stellar Sound and Media. Once again, local artists. If you are looking for studio time or if you need a top quality video or music video shot, contact Stellar Sound and Media at gmail.com. Message option on Anchor.
So with that message option, with that message option on Anchor, you can send in a message. There's a message button on Anchor. You press the button. You can leave like a 30-second message, whatever you like. If you want to leave us questions or if you have criticisms, if you want to just make fun of something that we may have said, if you put that in there, we will play it on the next episode and respond to it.
And once again, we're still waiting for that first fan.
Yeah, somebody drop
to
something
use
in.
it.
Actually, if there's like any fans out there for Wynonna Earp, if you have any questions,
Use
you can
that
answer it.
message option.
Use the option, yeah.
And who knows, maybe you'll hear from me again.
Maybe you can use the option there too, and we'll respond online.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. So once again, everyone, please find us on Apple, Spotify, Anchor, YouTube, Google, and Twitter.
Yes, sir.
And that is at IAR Podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And please subscribe, follow, share, comment, leave a 5-star rating.
Please.
And a quick review on the Apple page. Lastly, we want to shout out our day oneers. We continue to do this for you. So thank you for all of your love and support since day one. Yeah, we see all of you and we love you. All right, my man, that's a wrap.
All right.
Shannon,
That's a wrap.
thanks again.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, everyone, stay safe, stay kind, and we'll see everyone soon. Peace.
Peace out.